Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and this is my second attempt at recording this video. The first one was just ridiculous sound interference, and then it died. Sometimes when you're filming and the phone dies because of low battery, it'll like chop it. But this one, it didn't save anything. So anyway, I saw the movie a couple days ago, and I guess this is the first weekend that it's been out in the box office, and it's, I don't know, underperforming. It's funny. I'm so used to YouTube channels exaggerating everything that when they were like, The Matrix Resurrections is a flop, I was like, it probably did fine. It's like, oh no, it actually, okay. Well, I mean, it was available on HBO Max, so nobody, I mean, HBO knows, but nobody else knows. I get the feeling once you add in international and HBO Max, it'll do fine. So, the initial reaction, at least on YouTube, was almost universally terrible. But then when I spoke to people IRL in real life, it tended to be very fair. Like, people were like, it was okay. I actually liked it, although I have to admit I saw it in like the worst possible way. You know how those directors are like, my movie is not meant to be seen on a phone, and everyone's like, shut up, go back to the 19... Yeah, I saw this like first on a phone on a plane with no earbud, so I was just reading the dialogue. Then I saw it on a tablet, but like a really old tablet where, you ever have a tablet that's so old, like you get this white light around the edges? It literally looks like you're in a theater and somebody opened a side door. So then I saw a third of it like that, and then I finished the other third on a subway. So it was not ideal. And I'm sure there are little plot points. There were some points where they were going somewhere. It's like, I'm not sure what they're doing. But overall, I liked it. I thought it was pretty original. It's weirdly enough almost comedy, or it's hard to describe. I can see people literally saying, I mean, when the first Matrix ended, I was like, that's cool. That's all I need. Okay, so at the end, he's the one, and yeah, and then I have the same opinion about as everyone else of the second and third movie. There's some good parts in them, but they're fairly disastrous. And then of course at the end, Neo's dead, Trinity's maybe dead, I forget. I think everyone else did too. So apparently this movie does not have the best creative reasons. It was just Warner Brothers was like, we're making a sequel because we own the rights, and then they invited the Wachowski slips. It's a hard word to say at 1 a.m. Wachowski siblings, and one of them turned him down, and the other one took the job. And it definitely feels like it's at 50% capacity. There are some really cool parts, almost all of which are in the first hour. But then the other part, there's a lot of, it's just kind of anemic and repetitive. So the idea is that it's not a soft reboot. All this from the first three movies and the Animatrix, it happened. This is, okay, spoiler, and Spider-Man spoilers now. Okay, now we're back to Matrix spoilers. Okay, so Neo did survive. He was rebuilt by the machines, as was Trinity, I believe. And even though 20 years have gone by since the last movie, or 15, 20 years, it's been 60 years in the world. They've built another version of the Matrix that seems to be more realistic. I always talked about how the first Matrix, like the city they were in, it was just like a generic city like you would see in like a PlayStation 2 game. It was just building, but no landmarks, whereas this is very clearly San Francisco. So I felt like it was an upgrade, to make humans feel more at home, because the original version, it was kind of ominous. Like you knew it wasn't right. Everything was so generic, whereas this is very, very specific. So it's Neo. He's an old man. We see Keanu Reeves, but they show in his reflection that he looks like this just really broken down old man. He made a video game of the Matrix, not remembering that he used to be Neo and everything like that. And then they made a sequel, it didn't do so good, and then there's going to be or not a sequel, like another franchise called Binary, and he's working on that one, but they want to bring back the Matrix. And they do a lot of interesting things. Now, A lot of this is the movie I thought it was going to be, and then the movie it was, and kind of fitting those two together. Is that Morpheus is Morpheus, but he's not Morpheus. Agent Smith is Agent Smith, but he's not Agent Smith. And in both choices, they did something interesting. Agent Smith is almost kind of like an ally, even though he was put in this weird position where he's literally Neo's boss at the video game company, which I love. And then he has his psychiatrist, the analyst, and that's the main villain for this. And then Morpheus is really interesting. He's like, I'm based on Morpheus and Agent Smith, I think they said. And then he's got this weird, like, Terminator, like, I don't know, some weird kind of metal body in the real world. And then in the Matrix, he looks like a person. They do a lot of cool stuff, especially in the first hour. Like, when you're like, what's the deal with Neo? He doesn't remember. He's getting clues. All that stuff is great. The second hour, when people start remembering who they are and getting their powers, and apparently Neo's powers, he can block bullets, so let's do that literally like 20 times. I kept waiting for it to get woke, and it didn't ever seem woke. And at the end, Trinity, I couldn't tell, is she supposed to be the one or something like that? She's able to fly for the first time, and Neo can't. There's a funny bit where his group of rebels are like, can't you fly? He's like, and then he tries, he's like, yeah, it's not happening. But Trinity learns how to fly, and then the final scene, he remembers how to fly. But the bits between Trinity and Neo in their Matrix kind of amnesia personalities of Tiffany and Thomas, that part's really good. I mean, one of the things that's nice is they're both older, but they don't look like shit, so it's not like awkward. Like, Keanu doesn't have like a trash wig. And remember when they brought back Marion in like the last, and it was just freaking painful. It's nothing like that. Trinity looks great. Keanu looks great. So you're not like just feeling bad for them. And there's some nice poignant stuff. Neil Patrick Harris does a really good job. It's just in the second hour where they're like, oh, let's bring all the action in. It feels like the other Wachowski sibling is probably the one who wrote the good action scenes, because this is just not happening. Like, it's like 30 minutes. You're like, oh, you're just going to keep doing the same thing, aren't you? But there's a leap of faith. There's, questionings of reality. There's, opening your third eye type of stuff. There's a lot of the stuff that, you like from the Matrix trilogy. You definitely need to have seen the first one. Honestly, if you're watching it with someone who saw all three, there like 3 times you'll have to lean over like, I don't get this. It's like, oh, that's the Merovingian. He was in the second one and a little bit of the third one. And like, they get the guy who played the Merovingian, and he's clearly like in a completely different, sound stage. And it's fine. They don't do much with like the new generation. Although, I can almost see her name in my mind. Whatever. She was in Iron Fist. She actually does a good job. It looks like you're like, oh my god, it's gonna be like woke. Like, for some reason, her Matrix persona is like art school lesbian. It's like blue hair and like pajama pants. But she does a good job. She's not woke. She's not annoying. She's a good, captain of one of the ships. Oh, Jesus. Okay. So, as soon as you see Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, in okay-ish old lady makeup, just skip forward or go, just do something, because it's like 15 minutes and it is so painful. Just every time she just fast forward. That was not good. I mean, nobody was like, oh, what's happening with Niobe? Like, nobody was missing Niobe. People wanted to see Morpheus, Lawrence Fishburne, but also he's like early 60s. He's like 300 pounds. Maybe not. Maybe he's, the wire food, those poor wire food handlers. Like, it just wasn't happening. Agent Smith, I don't think they wanted it to be like the Star Trek movies where it's just a bunch of like 60-year-olds and it's just awkward and weird. So, like I said, they did cool things with the new Morpheus, the changed Agent Smith, and the Analyst was a good villain. I actually thought it was funny that, Trinity had a family some guy who's called like Handsome Chad is her husband. And there was some funny bits with the coworkers. There was some really nice meta stuff in like the first hour where they're talking about the Matrix video game, but they're really talking about the movie and they're doing all their interpretations. I saw a lot of press for the writer-director of this one saying, this is a trans movie about, not really. I mean, they basically make the point that the Matrix is open to interpretation and everyone sees it differently. So it's a solid movie. That being said, if you don't really care about the Matrix or you only like the first one and you didn't like any of the other two, I'd skip it. I mean, Keanu's just so likable, and what's her name who plays Trinity? She's really good too. I like the little new parts. There's these like weird like manta ray robots. I don't know. I thought they were really cool. There is a plot point where like Neo gets rescued and Trinity is like 20 feet away and she's not rescued. So like more than half the movie is like, we got to go rescue her. It's like, it literally would have taken like an extra 30 seconds to rescue her, but you know, whatever. I mean, like I said, I did watch it in the worst way possible. So maybe they covered that in one line of dialogue that I just missed. Anyway, recommend, not recommend, it really depends. Like I said, if you really like The Matrix or you really want, you're like a completist, yeah. If you're just a normie and you just kind of barely remember like, oh, weren't they wearing like sunglasses and like flipping? Yeah, I'd probably skip it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and probably my next video on this channel will be what's wrong with the Timothy Dalton James Bond movies. Thanks for watching. Bye.